ability faithfully perform the duties of office as an alternate member of the Sustainability Committee during my continuance therein.
And that I will, to the best of my ability, faithfully perform the duties of office as an alternate member of the Sustainability Committee during my continuance.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, you signed the first sign right there. I'll do the test. And I can collect that from you all at the end.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. Really appreciate your willingness to join in the fun around here. We're having fun all the time. So, okay. Next item, tree ordinance discussion. Now just,
Oh, nope, it's communications.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to do that. We have to talk about communication. And Amanda,
Yes, hello.
take over.
All right. Let me plug, as soon as I get my screen shared. All right, well, that's loading up. My name is Amanda Arntz, and I am the marketing and communication specialist for the city of Englewood. And I'm here to give a quick presentation on the communication opportunities here in the city of Englewood and ways we can promote all of the efforts going on in this sustainability committee. So I know I've got allotted 30 minutes, but I don't think I'll take that long. I've just got a couple slides. All right, can everyone online see my screen okay? All right.
I cannot see your screen.
You have to join, so you have to join the meeting and then share from the teams.
All right. One moment.
And Mel, tell me if it's something I need to do.
Nope, you're right, because I don't see it on my side either.
Okay.
Usually if you hit the share button next to the red button on there, it'll work. The up arrow. Would that work? Or it's
So share in the meeting, HDMI connected.
Oh,
perfect.
there it is. Nice.
All right, great. All right, great. So just a quick overview of the communications department. We have Chris Hargith, who is our director of communications. Madeline Hinkfist, who runs our neighborhood, she's our neighborhood engagement program manager, running the neighborhood resource program. Vanessa Davis with marketing and social media strategist. Lucia Magnuson, who's our web and digital content strategist, and then myself, marketing communications. And then Julie Madden is a communication coordinator. She's part-time. She mostly works with the PRLG team, but that's the communication team, just kind of a broad overview for you. So within our department, we have a community engagement plan, which I will share with Mel to make sure you guys all have a copy. In this plan, there's a variety of communication tools based on the level of engagement that you're looking for. If you're looking to solicit feedback versus inform, it's kind of a different campaign. If you want survey responses versus just kind of letting people know of what's going on, all of that is outlined in great detail in the communication engagement plan. It's got a great toolbox, a communications toolbox that kind of showcase all the tools that we have and the demographics that work best. If you're a baby boomer versus a millennial versus Gen Z, the way you get your information kind of varies. So that's all outlined in the plan. So I encourage everyone to take a look at it. And I'll go over some of these tools today. Some of these tools include our Englewood magazine, citywide emails, social media, our city website, Englewood Engage, press releases, video, direct mail or postcards, door hangers, posters, flyers, or any graphic design needs you need, and more. So we're always open. If you've got a great idea, run it by us, and we'll help you get the word out.
Why does Twitter have a star?
Oh, Twitter, I did put a star on next to that. If you all know, there's been limitations on Twitter, so the way we can get information out, Twitter might not be our best tool anymore, so we're still using it. We haven't made any plans to get off of that tool, but as you can imagine, it's maybe not the best place to, you want everyone to know about your initiative or program or event. That might not be the best tool.
Amanda, y'all got to get on Threads. It's the hot thing.
One more platform. My gosh, we are considering it. We're looking at that. We'll get in on it. But We'll talk to Vanessa. She's our social media strategist, so I'm gonna back off of that one. I'm a tired elder millennial. Not have time for another app. So we'll start with basic. We've got our email system. We do our monthly citizen email. You can add topics to this each month. We solicit topics from the city. We talk about events frequently, what's going on with the Code Next development. So anything that's going on within the city, we'd like to do a monthly email blast, and we can certainly add sustainability topics to that email blast. If you've got an event or the EV action plan got passed, we could, really put that in the email to our citizens. We can also create new lists on this platform. So if you wanted to create a sustainability list of emails to kind of curate your own list, if you've got a group of people or you want to start soliciting email addresses at your events or meetings, we can start building that list and then be able to target a specific email to a specific group. So that's something to consider if you ever are if you ever have the ability to start collecting email addresses, that could be something, but we do want them to sign up. Coming soon, we are working on, it's called Pidge. It's a text messaging platform, and we are working on that to hopefully communicate some emergency communications as needed, and then also do some marketing for programs and events. We don't want to overwhelm our citizens with text messages, but we do think it would be a very useful tool for people to get information. So that is on the horizon. The Englewood magazine is probably the gold star for getting information to the people in Englewood. This magazine is printed 4 times a year, and it's mailed to every household and business within the city. So this gets in everyone's hands. Stories can be submitted through mail or directly to communications@englewoodco.gov. We can do stories, advertisements, things like that. As you can tell, this is a story that we did on the electric vehicle action plan, I believe, in the winter magazine, spring magazine.
Yeah, it was winter ago.
Yeah, winter. So, but we have another issue to be printed in a couple weeks, and then we will gear up for our winter issue again. So if you've got things in this committee that you're working on that you want to promote or talk about, we can certainly slot you in for a story in the next issue. Social media is a great way to encourage engagement and spread the word on any programs or events. We can post actual events on Facebook. We can do social posts, individual posts, or a full campaign for something more long term. This is just a single post that we did for Compost Colorado a couple days ago. We'll continue to post about this. But if you've got more things, or if you want a longer campaign, we can do that. One of the next campaigns that I know I scheduled today was the Better Air, or Zero Fare for Better Air. So there's going to be multiple posts all the way through August on that. So we can kind of curate weekly posts, bi-weekly or monthly, depending on the topic. We have a great video editor and videographer team that we can hire out for some videos. These are great for storytelling, providing narrative, and engaging new audiences. Videos should be short. The attention span on many of the videos are short, and depending on the project, should be under 60 seconds if it's kind of more of a grab your attention ad, or up to 2 to 3 minutes if it's more informative. Video projects are kind of backlogged right now because we do outsource the editing currently, so it could be about 3 to 4 weeks for turnaround. So this isn't something that I want a video tomorrow. That could be a little tricky, but we might be able to do something on social media with a reels that's a little shorter, not as professional, but it's still a great way to get a video. But if we want a professional video, which I'll go ahead and play a quick bit of something that we've got on the, oops, hold on, my computer is muted. I think it needs to be off. Oh, maybe it's not. I don't know if the audio will play through. Shoot.
If not, I can also send the video after
Yeah.
too.
I'll just do that. It's a quick video. Just kind of talks about, it's some of our employees here talking about what they do here in the city. But this is just an example of the video types of videos that we can produce for sustainability. I will make sure that Mel gets these slides and can email these out so you can kind of take a quick peek of an example video. Now it's gonna There we go. We also have direct mailings. These can be a little bit more expensive. These can be sent to all household or can be narrowed down to zip code or by mail routes. I didn't get the cost, but you can imagine it's probably between $5,000 to $7,000 to send a postcard to like the entire city. These are mostly done for more like public works or larger projects. So for a committee of this size, it might be more logical for door hangers where that's only 20 cents per house. These are just estimates. 20 cents per household and a $400 charge, but you can narrow that down to a specific neighborhood. So if you've got a neighborhood specific event or program like a park cleanup day, you can send door hangers to the surrounding neighborhoods without having to do a postcard throughout the entire city. So door hangers and postcards are great ways to get information to residents. We also have our website and Englewood Engage page. Our Englewood Engage page is really a great area to do long projects. These are like the example here, we've got the city ditch piping project. These are more long-term projects that people can follow and track the updates and progress. So if you've got a project that's going to have milestones and milestones to hit and things upcoming, this is a great way to put all the information on one page and kind of track that. You can have people following the project. And then we also have our city website landing page where we can create a page for you with links to meetings or photo albums. I'm going to pull up really quickly the Cultural Arts Commission. We created a landing page for them. As you can see, it kind of has some more information. It's got a link to their events, link to their upcoming meetings, contact information, mission statement, a way for them to subscribe to that email list that we send those monthly emails out to a specific list. So we can create and curate something like this for, oh, it's not on the screen. I'm sorry, I'm just talking.
I was like, wait, is that wrong on my end?
I don't know why it's not sharing here, but I'll make sure you get this link. But basically the website, there's a little box where people can put their email in to subscribe to a certain topic, links to your meetings and things like that.
I'll also say too, for Englewood Engage, we have a standing sustainability one on there, and it links to like the Sustainability Commission and information on that. And also a general survey that people can fill out just on like what topics interest them in sustainability. And we share those with the Sustainability Commission. I know we talked about that a few months ago. We haven't had much traction on that survey for a while, so there's nothing to update, but that is there if you want to send people that way.
And then finally, I do want to talk about neighborhood nights and events and neighborhood nights more specifically, especially this year. The neighborhood nights is a great series of events that happen in local parks throughout Englewood. I've listed the schedule here for the remaining nights tomorrow through September at a variety of parks. This year, the event has been enhanced by other departments attending to talk about their programs and projects. The utilities have been there at a couple of events talking about the South Platte flood reduction project. The police department was there, just doing community engagement there. We've seen a lot of great interaction and engagement at these booths. So it's a great way to actually talk to neighbors where they are, meet them where they are. And it's a fun night, live music, food trucks. It's a great, we've had to cancel too for weather this year, but usually great weather and a great way to get out and directly talk to the neighbors and residents in the city about anything, but for you guys to talk about sustainability and get their feedback.
That was a good band, by the way.
Yeah, they're really fun. We come to all of them. So that's kind of a broad overview of some of the options and tools we've got for you. I will make sure you get these slides so you can see the links and the videos that I put in here. But if you have any questions on the tools available and what we can do for you, please let me know. Ask away.
Sure. Amanda, I have a couple of questions. I get the impression some of these communication strategies and vehicles have a price tag to them. So for example, the commission might have to pony up some money if we had a strategy. So we would ask you and you'd say, fine, and it's going to cost you X amount. And then we would say, Mel, is that possible? But I'm just trying to get the flow. You're not a piggy bank. You can't just do everything everybody wants.
Correct.
Okay.
We do offer a lot of our in-house services. We do not charge independent departments
Right.
or, committees for. It would be video outsourcing that would need to be paid for, printing of like large scale. Like if we print in-house a couple flyers for you, we're not going to currently. The financial system could change. I know that we're in budget review committees and that system might change, but currently we're not charging for that. And it would be a negligible charge for some flyers. But if you did a direct mailing to all the households in Englewood, that's gonna be, a 3,000 to 4,000 that would need to be covered by the committee, but.
And the second, go
I
ahead.
can answer a part of that question too. So the Sustainability Commission is an advisory commission. So if you all wanted to see something like an outreach campaign or something, you would talk to me and then we kind of, if it aligns with the sustainability plan, which is part of the strategic plan, then we can see how to make things work. This couldn't be like a one-off thing of like, I don't know, something out of the loop of it. It could be like, we're gonna spend $500 on door hangers. Like it has to have alignment and it does it does have to go through me too.
Okay. And then my last question is timing. On this committee and then on the code enforcement committee, every so often, somebody says, well, we need to do some communication on this, or we need to talk to somebody in communication department. And then it inevitably says, we missed the boat. They need 6 weeks lead time and we're at 2 weeks. Can you talk about lead time and conduit? In other words, it would seem we should go through Mel, and then it would seem we ought to have in our mind, hey, we're talking 6 to 8 weeks or whatever that number is. So what are your
Yeah,
recommendations on that?
I can provide, I'll have to work on it, but I can
Yeah.
get Mel kind of a breakdown on how long it would take depending on the project. Videos, like I said, would take at least
Sure.
3 to 4 weeks, potentially up to 6. Something as simple as a social media post or a campaign can be turned around rather quickly depending on our workload.
Okay.
It's definitely not a 6-week turnaround. I prefer that you don't, call me at 4:59 and say, oh my God, I need 6 Facebook posts right now. That might not happen.
Okay.
But typically with social media posts, we do about 5 posts a day, Monday through Friday. So we can usually find a spot to plug that in pretty quickly, especially if we have all the information. Usually our problem comes with, they're like, we want this. And then like, okay, give us the information. And then it's crickets. So as long as you've got the complete information, we can turn things around fairly quickly. Graphic design and flyers, depending on our workload, can take 3 to 5 days, potentially a week if, it's peak event season and we're doing a lot of stuff, 4th of July, gearing up for that type of stuff, can take a couple extra days. But
Okay.
typically we can turn things around fairly quickly outside of the videos.
And just to pile on that, so for like seasonal things, like if we wanted to, have something included in the magazine to do with like a blitz program for, beginning next spring, would that go in the winter magazine or the spring magazine? Or like, I guess like how far in advance do you want, like which publication would that need to be a part of to get people thinking about springtime?
Okay, so the publication schedule, I don't have memorized off the top of my head. I know that we're getting a magazine getting ready to print that should be in homes, I think the beginning of August. The winter magazine, I think hits homes in November. The spring one, I think is February. So I've got the schedule. I'll get that to Mel. It's on our eHub page.
Okay. And will that have like the deadlines for when topics like need to be submitted to you guys as well?
Yep, we have a whole editorial calendar that'll
Okay.
make sure that we get to Mel. So
Okay,
we can let you guys know the full schedule. We've got that lined out definitely this year. And I know we're starting to work on the 2024 schedule as well.
that would be super helpful. I have a question on like volunteer stuff.
Mhm.
Somebody mentioned it before.
Yeah, volunteering is not my main wheelhouse of knowledge, but I'll try to answer your
So-
question.
And Logan, maybe you probably remember this too, but when the website was revamped and the whole Englewood Engage, I believe there's a link on Englewood Engage somewhere where you can sign up to be like a recurring volunteer for like notifications and all that good stuff. I've done that. I've never received any sort of notification.
Okay.
So I don't know if it's utilized. But also, is there a way for the communications department to sort of access the you know, the email addresses for the folks that have registered to send out email blasts for like, hey, we're looking for volunteers for this project. Like, what does that look like as far as, you know, reaching out to, you know, volunteers, and that sort of thing? And how does a sign up sheet work? Cause I know the Englewood Engage has a sign up for, you know, ongoing projects or one-off projects. But I'm not really clear on who manages that and if there's like a cap for, you know, if we're looking for, you know, up to 5 volunteers for something, like, how do we cap it? Who manages all that? Like, how does that happen?
The volunteer program, as far as I understand it, is not as centralized as I personally think it should be. If there are emails were submitted through the Englewood Engage page, they are there. It's just a matter of putting them to use and utilizing them. So either putting them over into our email list that we can send them, you know, a monthly email sustainability thing. I've seen groups use Sign Up Genius. So once you have those names and email addresses, you can create shifts on Sign Up Genius for volunteering.
Is that something that this group would do, or would the communications
Uh,
own that? Like, who owns the ownership of like managing that process?
It's each department. So Mel would be managing the volunteers for sustainability. And I could help with and assist with getting that information from the Englewood Engage page to you.
I've typically gone through our event supervisor who has an event or who has a volunteer list.
Okay.
And so for the household hazardous waste, like she took my event sign up and blasted it out to her volunteer list.
Okay.
I think it's what Amanda is saying, like it needs to be a little bit more centralized.
But the communications department had, I mean, you guys have a way to access those folks that have registered on Englewood Engage,
Yes.
right? So it's just a matter of sharing that, like with Mel. for
Yep,
example.
getting her access and sharing that information so that you can utilize that to be effective. If you've got a captive audience who are into sustainability and into volunteering, you want to use those people rather than necessarily the just general volunteer list.
Sure. And what about getting a project uploaded to the Englewood Engage, like volunteer page, like for, you know?
On that sustainability, and
Like
if
here's a
you
project, like we're looking for volunteers, like, you know.
So that I'm pretty sure, Amanda, tell me if I'm wrong, it would have to be like a city run project or like a commission project. I don't think we can just put any,
no, we don't do like public.
yeah.
No, like if the committee, so, like, I would like the committee to vote on something tonight if that's possible. But if approve, if everybody agrees, like, to get that volunteer opportunity, like, up on the thing, is that something that would be considered eligible? Like, if it, you know, the committee votes, we say yes or no, hopefully not, but, you know, if the committee says yes, is that something that could go on the page or not?
I'm 90% sure, yes.
Okay.
I just don't want to say
Yeah,
100%
no,
and
that's
not be right.
Yeah,
If
it really
it's
depends
through
on.
the commission, it's the commission run project
Mm-hmm.
that they want to do,
Mhm.
then yes.
Got it.
And would that go on sustainability at the city or on the Englewood Engaged landing page?
It would go on most likely, depending on what the project is, sustainability at the city, because that's where the sustainability commission information lies.
Okay.
But once there was an approved event and everything went through the right channels and you wanted to promote that event, it could go on that landing page. We could then create a social media campaign and possibly do door hangers. So these aren't just like single slots you have to pick and choose. You can do a little bit of, I want a couple Facebook and Instagram posts. I want, you know, a video. I want door hangers. You can kind of pick and choose from there. So while we go on the website, we'd also do some other promotions as well.
I think it's one more, like, more of a general question, but so for the social media posts that I have seen and that have been, you know, related to the sustainability, have those come from you, Mel, or like where did those come
Majority,
from?
yeah,
So you're
almost
recommending
majority.
stuff to, okay.
I like to keep communication busy. That's what I like to think.
So we have a internal communications request form. So that's how we get all the information from each department or commission. They fill out a quick form with everything that they need, whether it's, you know, a video, social media post, they provide all the information, and then we can contact Mel if we have more questions, or if it's a perfect form and everything's in there, we'll just go with it and start posting it.
Okay.
I have a quick question. I know we're at time here, but on the sustainability at the city, on that landing page, in the past, we've sort of ideated about the possibility of having some sort of a virtual comment box or something, for the public to say, I'm really interested in tree ordinance or electrification, and this is my recommendation, or here's a resource that you guys can consider, or would you guys make this a topic at your next commission meeting? I just wanted to put that into the space. That's of interest to me personally.
I think there is one all the way at the bottom of the page, but I can move that up too if that wants to be in like a sidebar or.
Maybe I'm just missing it. Okay,
It's all the way.
that's
at
fine.
the bottom.
There's gonna be a survey, but that's basically just the comment box that you put in. So
So the
Logan,
survey
you
is,
remember a few months ago with all the comments we went through, that was from that comment box.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
And then the Englewood Engaged page for sustainability has the option for surveys, polls, comments as well that can be moderated and responded to.
All right, cool. Thanks.
But I will say the Englewood Engaged page only works as well as you promote it, so you can't just like throw something on a page that hasn't been touched in 6 months and tell no one about it. So if you do an update to the sustainability and Englewood Engaged page, we then want to maybe put it on some social media posts, maybe write a story in the magazine about it. Like, we want your feedback, go visit the Englewood Engaged page and provide it. So really just depending on the level of engagement that you're looking for.
For sure.
Okay, I'm gonna be a bully here, guard the clock. Thank you. This has been very helpful.
Thank
And
you
I
very much.
suspect we need to read the communication plan that you're gonna send to Mel and
Sorry.
dig through, because communications pops up every so often. It's like, we need to get our head around this, and figure out how to use it. So
Yeah.
now we know who to call.
Great. I will make sure that Mel gets the slides and the engagement plan so that you can see the full plan and all the details. There's a lot of information in there.
Thank you so
Thanks,
much.
Amanda.
Thank you.
I'm gonna steal that dog.
Okay, looking at the clock here.
Wait, one thing. We did skip over something. We did this last time
What'd we do?
too, of the introduction of new members.
You're right, you're right.
I was like,
I'm
why is
sorry.
always
So,
this thing happen?
Tracy, tell us about yourself.
So we have in the introduction how long you lived in Englewood and what inspired you to be on the commission.
I have been a resident since 2009. That's when I bought my home on South Penn. And I thought it would just be a transitional home, and then I quickly fell in love with the community. And I've been a teacher for 22 years. I just recently resigned. So I'm kind of going down a different path, but I finally have time to kind of go up to the next level of giving back to my community. And this was the perfect fit for me because sustainability is at my core, and just protecting and preserving the environment, and education is at my core. And I believe that the only way you can be sustainable is through educating people. So I figured this would be a good stepping stone for that.
Love it.
Thank you, thank you. Can Shelley tell us a little bit about herself? I'm a little bit acquainted out in the hallway here before.
Yeah. So I am a newer resident. I bought my house about 3 months ago. So yeah, but I've already really come to love my neighborhood and the community, and really passionate about the environment, sustainability. I come from an environmental policy background, so I just thought this would be a really great way to contribute and get to know more people in the city and hopefully make a positive impact. So that's why I'm here.
Welcome. Patrick.
Yes, so yeah, I'm also a newer resident. I started renting back in February. But yeah, I found that the best way for me to fight against my climate anxiety was to kind of wrap sustainability in every part of my life. So that went back through college and grad school and my job that I do now. And yeah, I know that civic engagement is a really good way for a single person to kind of multiply their effect. So that's kind of when I saw this opportunity come up in my new city, I figured I'd give it a try. And yeah, I'm excited to be here and contribute to the community.
Thank you. Welcome. We can use you.
So,
My apologies for getting confused on the agendas and the
That was
introductions, et cetera. This next topic is fantastic, and we heard last month from the forester, Anderson.
Evan Anderson.
Evan Anderson, great guy, really educational, and explained to us that Englewood does not have a tree ordinance, and city council wanted our thoughts on what a tree ordinance might contain. And I asked everybody, send us your thoughts. And poor Mel got deluged with lots of thoughts, and they were great.
Great
And
thoughts.
I really appreciate everybody's time and energy. What I'd like to do tonight is have a conversation. We're not going to rush to put something together. I think eventually we will send a communication to city council with a consensus, but we don't want to rush into that. There's so many good ideas that we have to hash it over a little bit. So I love the summary that Mel put together, and she said, you know, there's some themes here. And I would throw it out to the group. Does anybody want to pick up a theme or a comment and stimulate our thinking and our discussion?
Well, I want to say that I loved having a little bit of homework, like something to do in between our monthly meetings. I think that's like a good idea. It's something we should do. 'Cause a lot of times it's like a month before I like think about what we're doing next time, and it seems pretty long in between, so I liked doing this.
I love a fellow homework nerd.
Rick, I know you've got thoughts and you put some thoughts into writing and I appreciate it, but can you share some of your thoughts? I'm going to pick on you.
Well, yeah, that's fine, thank you. And I want to thank everybody for responding, those people who did respond to some of the thoughts that I put down, because it was meant to be a discussion starter. I was doing some, when Evan said, when I asked him last time, I said, where do we go? How, do you have resources? He says, it's all online. And so I just started doing a variety of searches. The one that I think I drew the most from was put together by the Arbor Day Foundation. And it's really an excellent document, which I can get the link to Mel so she can distribute that. But it basically, it addresses a lot of things, and I pulled from some of those and other things I didn't. It talks about a number of cities and what they're doing, so you can kind of see the perspectives. And you see everything from, this sort of, I won't use the word, more of a totalitarian approach to this, where they just basically have specific strict rules on what you can and cannot do, all the way to suggestions. And so you've got this kind of wide variety of things. So I utilized that to kind of come in with some specifics that I found that were interesting. And if you haven't seen mine, it's the one that begins sustaining trees and promoting canopy growth in Inglewood. And what I did was I recommended some conservation efforts in this, and I really did focus on private development. I didn't want to go too deep into the public aspect of it and that kind of thing, and business aspect. So this is pretty much pointed toward some things that I felt were great ideas. Things like when a developer goes into a given property to begin to redevelop, and because Inglewood's is such a landlocked place, we don't have a lot of new land developed. So we're typically redeveloping old land. And so what happens is on those old tracts, there are trees. And there are existing sort of ecosystems within that area that I think that we need to be specifically addressing to help us to understand how to protect those trees. If they're diseased, figure out what to do about them, those kinds of things. And having a forester is such a great resource toward that. But before, and just as they go to Planning and Zoning Commission to put forth plans and things like that, my feeling is they should have an environmental, I don't want to use environmental impact, it's got a bad terminology to it, but have something in place that addresses existing trees on the lot, how to address those and protect them if possible. And then, what they do to that tree to protect it, and they come up with concepts like tree islands, which means that you basically put a big fence around that tree. And you put it out at a distance, which will not just protect the tree itself, but protect the root system against damage. And then you have a variety of ways to be able to navigate through that tree island to be able to get what you need to have done. And kind of delineated a few of those types of things. You know, it's a carrot and stick thing. If we can get them to buy into it via rules that we set in place, then we don't have to punish them because they did something wrong with that. And, you know, so if they do have to take a tree out, or any resident, this is not just development, but the idea of taking a tree out, that there should be some sort of consequence to that that creates an overall improvement. So if it's a tree that goes down, there's other trees that replace it. And I know we've come into that discussion about how you manage that kind of thing. But that was kind of where I was coming from. So like I said, Mel, I'll pass that link on to you, pass it out. Okay.
Any other thoughts? Concerns or questions? I like the summary that Mel put together because there seems to be some agreement amongst all of us. We can argue over the edges a little bit, but you know, having dollars involved either as a penalty or as an incentive. You know, a lot of the other thing is tree maintenance. That I see trees in Englewood that need to be trimmed and need to be maintained. That's not inexpensive. And could we help out folks that want to trim that 80-year-old maple tree in front of their house? So I guess one of my thoughts is funding in dollars and some type of a fund, whatever we call it, I think is a heck of a good idea if we could pull it off. And I can understand the city saying, we only have so many resources. We just can't throw money at every tree. But if there were opportunities in there, I drove by an empty lot the other day and there was this big, old, ugly tree right smack dab in the middle of the lot. And you know it's going to get developed someday. And I thought, is that okay if that tree came down? I mean, it could be dead for all I know, but that's the kind of stuff our forester can answer. And if it needed to come down, then it could be an investment into our tree fund or whatever we call it. So I guess my question to the group is, and to Mel, we need to cogitate on this for a while. We need to think about it. We need to talk about it. And then at some point, we probably need to get a consensus identified and send a message to city council. What do you think is a reasonable time frame? Giving us time to process and being timely enough that city council can appreciate.
I would say having, after this meeting, like 1 to tops 2 more brainstorming sessions. And then on the second or third meeting, have a finalized memo to send to them, just because this is our second meeting
Yeah.
for general discussion. But I think absolutely taking some time with it just because it is a big topic.
Okay.
And Joe even kind of expressed that too last time he was here, like they're not expecting people to whip
Right.
this out and send it to them, like they want it to be pretty well thought out.
And I wonder, is this a situation where we'd want to ask 2 members to put together an outline or a bullet point checklist of what we think the consensus is, not writing a theme paper, but maybe like you did, where you started saying, these seem to be the points that we agree on, so that maybe at the next meeting or the meeting after, we could go through that checklist and say, you know, we generally, a citizen in the community threw an idea out that I thought was very interesting. Pollinator garden is great. We need to support that. And the other idea is pollinators garden pull carbon out of the air too. And do you have to replace a tree with a tree, or do you replace a tree with a pollinator garden? That's a heck of a question. I like that. I don't know the answer to that, but I had never thought of that. So again, I'd love to see more pollinator gardens. And you need money to put more columns. So again, that Arbor Tree Fund or Arbor Day Fund or whatever it is might have some opportunity in that.
I will say this is just my 2 cents that a tree for a tree makes more sense, just of canopy and the shade
Exactly.
that you're
Good point.
getting.
Good point.
Because especially in an urban area, we're having extreme
point.
heat islands that are pretty intense.
Sure.
And if you look at neighborhoods, they did this in Global Elyria Swansea, where they took temperatures of a street lined with tree and a street not lined with them.
Mhm.
And the temperature difference was just pretty intense.
No doubt, no doubt.
And then how do you decide which ones get trees and which ones don't get trees? So I think that just gets a little complicated. That's just my 2 cents though.
That's fair. No, that's
You
fair.
all can put in whatever you would like.
So
But you
anyway,
can do, if you all wanted to break up over, you just said you love homework. If you wanted to break up, it could be max of 2 for new members. Only 2 members can meet outside of a meeting. 3 is not allowed just because of Colorado open meeting laws. But like, it could be like 2, 2, 2, anything like that to cover certain topics. If you wanted to go by chunks and then come back with notes, that can work. Whatever you all decide is how you all can run with it.
And I'm going back to the sort of procedures for the committee, but is there a possibility, I like 2, 2's a nice number, but 3's better.
Is Colorado
and,
open meeting.
Well,
But you
where
can
I'm
still
going-
do it.
Hang on, where I'm going with this is, could we create a task force which was publicly known to allow, and I would encourage citizens to come to something here and give input on something like this. Could we actually create something that lived for 6 months or something like that, or 3 months, in order to allow more people's opinions and perspectives?
Yeah,
It's a good question.
as long as it's posted with enough. So if you all wanted to meet, like say you have like 3+, you would have to let me know the date and time that you decide on. I need like 5 days, I believe, to post it in time. There has to be like recording accessible. But yeah, you can absolutely do that.
we work through you.
Yes, yeah.
And is that 3 members of the commission or 4 members of the commission? Or-
Once you pass 3, you can have however many you want. It's just after 2 where that,
Okay,
I just call it COML.
I like that.
Colorado Open Meeting Law. That's
meet
when
at the
COML
coffee shop
kicks
or
in.
something and
Now, they don't have.
audio through. And again, if what I argue with me, but what I'm thinking is to move the ball down the road, we create either a briefing paper or an outline for a briefing paper, that once we agree on that, we give it to Mel and say, write this up for us. In other words, these are the key points. This is where we agree. We don't want to beat it to death, but this is the nut of what we think we want to communicate to city council. Does that seem reasonable, that we don't have to write a thesis paper, but we all agree on 6 bullet points?
That's a good thing to note for new members too. City council didn't task the commission with like creating a tree protection ordinance. They tasked the commission of creating kind of like their top recommendations and suggestions to be found within the ordinance. So that makes it a lot easier because writing an ordinance is not fun. But yeah, just key themes to be in there.
I think-
Writing the ordinance regardless, and we're just putting input on
So
it.
they're not writing it regardless. We currently don't have one. And it was brought up in a city council meeting. They're going through all of Code Next. One of our city council members said, is this appropriate in Code Next or not? Code Next has been going on for a while. So they said, maybe this is something we can pitch over to the Sustainability Commission. They come all over it for some time and then give us some recommendations. And then city council gets to do with that, with what they please. If they like them, they can go forward with it. If they said they don't want to do it, they don't have to move forward. It's really their ballgame.
But they did ask.
Yeah, but they did ask.
I'm glad they asked. I think Luciana might have had a question, but they put their hand down. Just FYI to keep an eye on hands raised.
Oh. It's Dana here, actually, on my
hi,
husband's
Dana.
account. Hi, if I may, is it appropriate? for
Dana,
me to-
I'm gonna ask, we're gonna wrap up this section and we're gonna move into public forum here in a second. So if I
Okay,
can ask
fine.
you to hold off for a minute, I'd love you to weigh
No
in
problem.
shortly thereafter, okay? Okay? Okay,
Yes, that's fine.
okay. So, if I'm hearing it right, we're leaning towards having, an official subgroup task force look into this. You would help, schedule it or make it all legal and proper. And then maybe we could just do an invite to the commission and the general public. If they want to meet us at a coffee shop or a library meeting room or something, we could have a discussion and try to move towards the key bullet points or the key things that are consensus driven. And maybe it'd be great if we could bring that back to the next meeting. Because that would move that conversation down the road. So is that,
Is
That
the
sounds
vision
okay.
for this like a one-time meeting or an ongoing meeting? Either one is fine. I just want to make sure.
Well, can it be ad hoc? I mean, can it be something where you're basically creating it so that we achieve something and call it at least one? Two, if we kind of get in the
feel
mud.
like there needs to be further discussion. Yeah.
so that we have to specify one meeting?
No, I just didn't know if there was a vision for that already, but
It'd be great if
starting
we-
off with one, I think it's totally fine.
Question for the group on kind of leaving it open-ended like that. Do we want to set like a target due date for us? I just worry about not having a due date, that it carries out for like a year and we still don't have anything. So
Yeah, like that.
should we target
What's everybody
a
think?
due date? Because I feel like without due dates, things don't happen.
Mel, when is the sustainability report due? Was it December last year that we needed to have our project sort of?
Last year it
Wrapped
was July because everything was on a different time frame. This year it's actually normal and it's gonna be November, December.
Okay. Good to know.
We have like a rough draft due before the next meeting, and then we'll talk about that rough draft at the next meeting, and then go from there.
Rough draft of the memo.
Or just like the bullet points of like how you were saying, of like consensus thoughts.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch the question.
She was talking about like a due date or like what our goal should be. And so can we have like some bullet points or like that should be the goal from this like mini meeting before the next monthly meeting?
I think I'd like to have this session before the next meeting. And I guess the chicken or the egg, I don't know. Do I do a straw poll individually and contact people, or do I just call you up and say, hey, let's just send an email to everybody and I'll pick a couple dates and people can get back to you and give you a sense of,
I think personally, you all can run with however you see fit. I think a good deadline would be, like absolute deadline would be in July, August, September, would be in October. So you get before your report, that has to be done. And 3 months is enough time to really have conversation, but also I think that would be a good enough time to like wrap it up and be like, these are what we thought.
all right.
That's it.
But we might be able to have a bullet point meeting before our next monthly meeting. So that, again, keep the discussion going.
Yeah.
And then
A
I'll
final-
just
final memo
lean
for
on
October.
Mel to help me on scheduling and inviting people. Is that okay? And there's an example. How do we tell the general community they're invited? I mean, if we said we're going to meet at Nixon.
That is somewhere where communications could come in.
Okay.
So if there was the Sustainability Commission ad hoc meeting, they really wanted the public to come,
Mhm.
I'd work with Amanda and their team. It could go
Right.
out on Instagram, Facebook, all that. They also have a Nextdoor account,
Okay.
which I know that's really popular in Inglewood. So it would go out
Okay.
that way and then folks could come.
Great.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking it'd be an evening, like at 6 o'clock, something like that. So I'll work with Mel on that. Thank you. And I think I'm excited by this. I think this is pretty good stuff. I want to believe city council's going to listen or act on some of it.
Can I suggest a location to meet?
Sure.
Just because I'm part of the neighborhood leadership team and we've been meeting at the Guild right over here. It's great space. So that way,
Right.
if you do have a lot of people, which would be great.
Nice,
It
nice.
has a nice open and it's utilizing,
Okay, thank you. That's great. All right, folks, thank you very much. Okay. August meeting topics, anything, hopefully we'll talk about our bullet points. Anything else that you all feel needs to be?
Oh, wait, I have updates first, really quick.
You had some ideas.
Yes. So last meeting, we talked about the budget enhancement for sustainability that went in front of city council on June 26th. Sustainability is wrapped up in city manager's office, so it's all very spitfire and really fast. We didn't have any initial objections though, so that was good. And we find out in a few months if we actually get the list of enhancements that we requested. And then just really quickly, so for the new folks too, I'm 4 days a week at the city of Englewood and then 1 day a week at the city of Sheridan. So I like just popping in what we're doing over at Sheridan, especially because we're local neighboring cities. So we had an open house for our draft sustainability plan June 20th. And their plan is going to be completed in late Q3 of this year or early Q4. So it'll be kind of interesting to see where Englewood and Sheridan overlap.
Good.
Okay, so sorry. Now
No,
it's
no,
your.
that's great. No. And August meeting ideas, tree ordinance discussion, energy efficient E3 presentations. We got stood up there.
No. So we didn't get stood up by E3. That,
Oh.
because that's City of
Okay.
Englewood. You'd never get stood up by
All
City
right.
of Englewood.
No, I'm sorry.
So for the next meeting, it's almost gonna be kind of like a little, what's the word I'm looking for? Like presentation panel for like low income energy efficiency or energy programs. So we have Grid Alternatives, a representative from them that's gonna talk about their free solar for low income residents, which applies to Englewood. They serve our territory as well. We're gonna have Nancy Fenton, who's the administrator for the energy efficient Englewood program, which offers low to mid income Englewood residents grants for energy efficiency projects. Very popular, usually always filled up or on a wait list. And then the third one that I'm pretty sure is coming is a representative from the Arapahoe Weatherization Program, which obviously serves Englewood as well. So they're going to give very kind of mini presentations for you all. You all can ask questions to them. And this also falls in line with our sustainability plan, because one thing in there is to constantly develop and improve the E3 program. So if you all have any suggestions or anything that you would like to see, this is a great time to advise and to do that.
What's the group think? Do they have any preferences on August meeting ideas and topics? Or is that it? I'm okay if you guys are okay with it. We're okay with it. All right. Thank you.
Mel, do we need to, I mean, we have our events coming up in the fall. Where does that planning start?
For the household hazardous waste, so we are currently doing the contract right now to try and even find a contractor. That takes a while. So then at probably the next meeting actually will be when the Sustainability Commission votes on what you all would like the copay to look like. So in years past, it was asked of the Sustainability Commission members to volunteer at the event. From the past staff liaison had asked them to. We really, don't want to, no one's under any obligation to volunteer for anything on this commission. You serving on the commission is your volunteer stuff enough. Also, the event doesn't really necessitate volunteers. Logan was there last year. I think the Littleton person and I probably could have done that on our own, but it is a way if you want to get out and spend a Saturday with us, you totally can. So that'll be another thing you guys can discuss is if you want to volunteer that day too, but know that it's not forced and that we will survive.
It's a fun time. It's a good event. The Tri-Cities are pretty jazzed up about the hazardous household waste. And it's cool we get to weigh in on the copay. And Mel brings breakfast. It's fantastic.
Yeah, and I bought people pizza last night. I tried.
Is leaf cleanup still a thing?
So leaf cleanup is still a thing, but last year it changed over and actually for the better. Oh wait, yes, I think you were there for that one. It's still gonna be a thing, at least as far as I know of, because that direction.
Littleton employees staffed on behalf of Littleton at the leaf pickup. And they really, I was there, they didn't need me. I mean, they had,
Which is good to know.
yeah. And they spread it out over more days. So it was a very methodical process. So we may not need as
I
much.
heard the new process was a lot better than the old
It
process
really was.
too.
So if they're willing to have their staff do it, we could cheer them on.
I say heck yes to
Yes,
that.
heck yes. All right, can we move to the next item? All right, let's go to the public forum. And this is an opportunity for the public to talk to us, give us their ideas and steer us in the direction we need to be steered in, I guess. So public, please speak.
I'll go ahead if that's all right.
Yeah, it's all right.
This is Dana Liebert, and I would really like to see the Sustainability Commission have a conversation about the city's weed ordinance and how that could be amended so it's not, it doesn't put people who remove their turf and put in pollinator habitat at risk of violating the weed ordinance. And how it could be worded to more specifically address noxious weeds. So the way it currently is written, all grasses you can't have grass over 6 inches. So that would put my landscape and other pollinator landscapes that have native grasses in violation. And it also would make it a violation, it is a violation to leave those grasses uncut for the winter as a food source to birds. So, you know, we have our pollinator proclamation and we have our weed ordinance. And I think the weed ordinance could be clarified in a way that doesn't conflict with the pollinator proclamation. And that's it. So I request that being on the agenda.
I missed some of that.
Essentially updating the ordinance, so it's more clear. Dan, I'm just reiterating what you said. You said you really want the commission to look at ways to update the city ordinance to make it more clear of a weed versus native plants that people are allowed to have on their property, right?
Yes, it's
Okay.
the weed ordinance, and it could say specifically turf grass so that it distinguishes between native grasses and turf grass in the height they need to be. And it could call out specific noxious weeds that are often under 6 inches, but which should still be addressed.
Good. And now where would we put that, or how would we affect that?
Dana, I could actually just, me on my own, reach out to the codes division to see, or code enforcement to see what they say. And maybe that could be, if it's something simple, I can, I know, I laugh at simple.
Changing ordinance, simple.
No, if it's some kind of update that they could give or something, I can do an update that way. We could also kind of have someone from code enforcement come and give high level of how their roles impact kind of that native landscaping, especially because we just had that lawn replacement program. It makes sense what you said to switch over for that. And then maybe some actionable steps from code enforcement about how the commission could suggest those changes.
Great. I'd be happy to talk to you, and maybe it doesn't have to be a complicated thing with the commission.
So, Dan, I don't hear so well, so I missed some of what you're saying, but I think I got it now. And I'm on code enforcement, and we talked about the wet weather and how weeds are just profuse around Englewood these days. And the question was raised at the meeting, you know, one person's weed is another person's favorite flower. And, you know, one person said, I have a corner, a rock garden that is exactly what I want. And code enforcement came by and said, it looks like a bunch of weeds to us. And the director simply said, it's hard. It's really hard, not impossible, but it's hard for those people out in the field to differentiate between a noxious weed and a native plant. What I got from that discussion was some kind of education would be required. Those people in the field. Now, the process is forgiving, that if they give you a notice and they say you need to cut your weeds, you can appeal and say, those aren't weeds. Those are exactly what I had there. So there is a loop in there, but I hear what you're saying. And my initial impression is code enforcement is a little bit overwhelmed, or the thought of them having their booklet of all, you know, trees, grasses, and flowers.
Well,
Something they probably wouldn't embrace, but that's my impression. I don't know exactly where we go with that. Maybe some basic education would do most of it.
Yeah, and I would add that basic education on what's a noxious weed would be great to include the community in.
Sure, sure.
And I don't think it's that hard to distinguish them. But if the ordinance specifically said noxious plants on the noxious weed list for Colorado are what need to be removed, that would distinguish, somebody could say, these plants are not on that list.
Okay, no, okay, good point. Good point.
Just to add on this and maybe back up a minute to the topics for the next meeting. I was thinking about this, but I didn't really know like how to word it or what my actual thoughts were. But hearing Deanna's thoughts, I think help what I want to say. For August, if we could add topics for like, and I would love to do an event in early springtime, an educational event for the community to educate people on, what are noxious weeds, what are great plants you should be putting in your garden, what are trees you should be planting, what are, things you shouldn't be doing or should be doing. And I would love to see this committee host an event
That's a great idea.
in the early springtime to put this stuff, on people's radars when everybody's running to the garden centers and, filling their carts with, pretty things that bloom. And it's like, well, is it a good thing or not, or a bad thing to be putting in your garden? And also with the information, that I presented at the last meeting with, coordinating a bio blitz with Denver, and that is largely handled like within an app. But if we can create a community event to get some engagement around that, and then I know it turns into like a neighboring city sort of competition, and depending on where things end up, I mean, we could celebrate our wins. If Englewood did a great job at the for the bio blitz or whatever, have a little sort of celebratory thing like that. So I think I would like to add as a topic, like a springtime educational event.
Great idea.
That's what I'm trying to say, so.
Love it.
The block party.
Yes,
Would it be great to have a booze at the block party?
we have talked about that in other meetings,
That's good.
but.
I know you.
Yes, no,
No, that's
it's
great.
come up a number of times, but yes, let's add that to the list.
That's another thing to note for new members. Commissions can always have a table at event. There's no charge, there's no anything. Our event supervisor just needs to know ahead of time, but you all are more than welcome. They love seeing commissions there, so.
Well, I just have to say that pollinator garden is beautiful, and it certainly exceeded my expectations. And the Sustainability Commission was pretty much on the sideline to the development of that. We weighed in slightly, but I wonder sometimes, could we have an event over there? There's an example of sustainability. There's an example of community participation. Why don't we have 5 more just like it? I just wonder in terms of a spring event, education, and being immersed in sustainable vegetation. It'd be cool. And I watched it this spring kind of come to life, and it was cool because it would be a very cool time sequence where it just little sprouts of green, and then one day I went over there and holy cow, it's alive. So those are great ideas, and in spring we should be planning now probably for something in spring. Any other thoughts, input, ideas? Thank you, Dana. That's great.
You're welcome.
Okay. All right. If staff's choice, anything staff needs to,
Not on my end.
you've been great.
I
so
already
far.
did my updates, so.
Commissioner's choice, council liaison's not here. If there's no,
Well,
oh, good.
I want the committee to vote on creating a volunteer program for Depot Park
Okay.
tonight at this meeting, if that's a thing we can do. Can we do that? How does that work?
But I'm assuming that would go through the city of the volunteer stuff. Are you saying you want the commission to like run a volunteer program for Depot Park?
What does that entail?
That,
What does that like entail?
so it would be anywhere from, 2 to 5 volunteers, so we're talking very small. I am happy to volunteer as a committee liaison or, coordinator for this program. But we're talking, 2 times a month through the end of August, volunteer days at the park to do weeding and just plant maintenance, whatever's needed. It would kick off with an educational / training session. So John Mergel, who is through Douglas County, who has the ongoing surveillance project at Depot Park, was willing to do a training session. And we could also partner with either through CSU Master Gardeners or, Wild Things, or there's numerous organizations that we could reach out to for maintenance on the other half of the park that is not part of John's sort of ongoing surveillance. Come September, it would go down to just 1 time a month maintenance. And I believe in speaking with Deanna, for 2 people, it would take maybe 2 hours of maintenance. So depending if there's 2 to 5 volunteers, it could go pretty quick. So not a huge time commitment by any means. And it would kick off with, like I said, the training session, and I would be happy to show up at each scheduled maintenance day to just sort of check in volunteers and make sure folks know what to do. So, any questions?
So if I'm correct, we would need to go through Amanda, because it seems to me we're talking like a dedicated volunteer effort. Just like
A recurring, yeah.
there were a few of us who were dedicated to the biochar experiment, and that was fine. And so then we say, well, maybe we need to have a dedicated weeding committee or whatever for, but again, I don't know where that intersects with the city's volunteer program, and I don't know how that would look in a diagram.
That was the one thing I was gonna say is if folks wanted to do Depot Park to sign up through the city. And I can get more information from Tony about that volunteer list, as we were saying, needs to be more streamlined into one. And then say if it is this volunteer opportunity, you sign up for the shifts that you want to. The only thing I'm seeing, if the Sustainability Commission owns it, volunteer coordinating is a lot more work than like the coordinating part is a lot.
Right.
That's what I just want to flag out there. But, and Dana, don't you have do
Yeah.
you go through the city?
Not anymore, but I'll tell you how it worked in the past. The communications team would put out a message on their social media, and we'd also contact people who had signed up on the Englewood Engaged Depot Park webpage to be notified. And I created a Sign Up Genius page for people to register. And it's true, Mel, doing that regular Sign Up Genius page was a pain. If all the dates are set, and that can be created at once with all the dates and the slots for volunteers, I think it's pretty straightforward. And there could be repeated announcements from communications if there aren't enough volunteers, but I imagine there will be plenty. It really doesn't take a lot of people.
So my thinking was like if the committee approves, kind of hosting or taking on this volunteer project, like I said, I'm happy to play liaison, or if anybody else feels strongly and wants to participate, I mean, by all means. But once we all agree, then coordinating, with Amanda and yourself for, setting up, what's the order of like setting up the Sign Up Genius, like getting the email blast out with a link for the Sign Up Genius, and scheduling the dates that for the volunteer days, which can all be done sort of like on the side once we agree that this is something we want to do. I don't
And then
know.
my only other question with that, is the commission guaranteeing that they would have one person at each of these volunteer days? And another thing on top of that, if it's more than 2 commission members at this volunteer day, that's COML right there, Colorado Open Meeting Law. And so it would have to be only 2 commission members at a volunteer day.
Is it
How
an
does
open meet? Is it an open meeting violation if we're working and not discussing commission topics?
I'm almost positive, yes. It's like really, there's like kind of a happenstance thing of it, right? Like if 4 of you happen to be at the grocery store, you're not breaking any kind of thing. But if you all plan on being somewhere, they're very, very, very play by the rules by that, just because they don't want anything to be going on without group or the public knowledge.
So I guess my challenge to that is, how is this a violation of open public meetings when we are publicly announcing that this is a volunteer day, or a volunteer thing, open to the public, like come sign up, do whatever. And we've also hosted events in the past where there's been more than one member at volunteer days.
So I can look more into this, but so are you talking about like the residential energy efficiency event, kind of like that kind of thing where there were more?
I've been to like the leaf cleanup and the hazardous waste, and it's been all committee members like at most of the events that I've gone to. So I don't know.
I can ask them, but I think on the safe side, if there was 2 or less, that would be good. I can ask the city attorneys too.
With the Sign Up Genius too, like you'll have the names of people, so if you see more than,
Yeah, I mean, we
A
can
couple
also,
of us.
it's a small group we can manage.
If we have 4 or 5 from the commission, we can sign up for different
Yeah.
dates, right?
Nice.
If we have to, it's a little silly.
Or if I show up, you can send me home.
Mike's like.
I mean, real, if it's that straightforward, one of us has to go home.
So that can be a follow-up for me that I can send to the commission, just like a very plain, straightforward thing from our city attorney of what that would look like.
Okay.
Idea how.
So, I'm sorry, I can't hear. I apologize.
So, I mean, is this something we can vote on? We can wait for, you'll follow up with that information so we know how to go about organizing this whole thing? Like what?
I think if I could look into one with our event supervisor of maybe the most efficient way to do it.
I just worry because we're already in the heat of summer and we're running out of time.
What you can do is, I mean, you can vote if you're all in favor of kind of doing this volunteer program. And if it's a yes, then the next meeting can be more digging into what that looks like. And then if next meeting we find that there are some hiccups, there's no skin lost in that one.
well, you wanted it to go through August, right? Like it will be August.
Well, yeah, exactly. What the meetings are, it's the 11th of June. The next meeting's not going to be till the 10th or 11th of August. So that's
It's-
2 sessions in August and one in September, I guess.
And it's not being maintained right now, so it's timely to get this going.
So can we entertain a motion to adopt a commission-sponsored project, Mel, and come back next month and dig into some more of the details?
Yeah, that's what I said. And worst case scenario, which I think it would be totally fine. Worst case scenario, even if it isn't, you already voted on it and it's fine. Like if you vote on it now, just saying that this is what you want to do, you totally can.
Great. I'm all
So-
about it.
So there's a recommendation or a motion on the table. Is that correct, Logan?
Yes, I would entertain, well, I could move, I guess. I would move that the Sustainability Commission adopt a project to, how do I want to phrase this, Kara? Take over volunteer efforts through August and September at Depot Park.
Yeah, I've kind of been referring to it as like adopt a park, like volunteer, maintenance. But yeah, that's exactly it, so.
We have a second to that?
Second.
We have a second. All those in favor?
I will say alternate, we have enough people here, it has to be a member.
Oh,
812.
our alternate doesn't count.
Actually, alternate does, we're one short, so yes, yes.
Nice.
Okay,
I get so mixed up by the numbers, I'm like, oh my gosh, when does it not?
you're just doing your job.
Perfect.
So all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No one's opposed. Thank you, Logan. I think that helps clarify.
Do we have a backup second, just in
Okay.
case?
Can I second?
Yes, 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 yes. Because looking through the numbers, I'm like, maybe we're one. Okay, perfect.
We good?
Sorry, my motion wasn't the most eloquent, but we got it done. Nice. Thanks, thanks, Kara and
Thanks,
Dana
Logan.
for raising that.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, well, Kara, I'd like to help, so let me know when you're
Yeah, I,
over there.
I will put an outline together of how this should work, and I would like to start coordinating with the communications department, if that's okay.
Yeah.
Just to get things in motion, and then we can sign off on the next meeting, if that's. if that
And
works.
just for your edification, I also have a little urban garden plot over there, which is on the other side of the fence.
Mhm.
And they have the little gazebo picnic table area, and that's all public property. So if you needed a place to gather people and say, here's the game plan, there is actually a place where we could huddle
Mhm.
for a couple minutes before we go pulling and trimming or whatever we have to. I, for one, would like to know how to do it. If there's a technique or something, I don't want
Yes.
to kill a plant.
No, that's the idea, is to host a training
sure.
session at the start. So have one training day, and then the volunteer group and committee liaison
Okay.
would
Great,
maintain after that, so.
thank you.
Okay.
If there's no further business, I think we should adjourn. Thanks, everybody. Good meeting. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Mike. Efficient. See y'all soon. Thanks.
Thanks, Laura.
Thank you, appreciate it.
So we're gonna get some like potential
Thanks.
dates
You keep me on track.
by the next.
It's pretty hard to
Each
do.
other
Yeah.
up.
It's pretty hard to
Yeah.
do. You're the keeper.